Hi, my name is Tonga, and I'm going to be breaking down my song Better Days that I produced for Rocket League back in Season 6. I'll be taking you through how and why I made certain arrangement choices, what production techniques I used, and my general approach in putting the song together. Let's get it. To start off, let me go through the chord changes. I kept it simple and decided to use a 4-chord loop going from C minor 7 to F minor 7, then to D minor 7, back to F minor 7. Right off the bat, I took the sound of the first chord and reversed it so it could slide into the chord melody. Next, I added a recording of wind to create a layer of ambience that fills out the vibe I was going for. I bring in a stripped down version of the drums during the second cycle of the melody to give it a bit more backbone leading into the next section. For the transition, I laid down the red carpet by using a reverse crash to bring in the next section. I played the melody with a super laid-back feel and added a glockenspiel to help define the melody more clearly. Next, I laid down some pads on the guitar and Rhodes. These two instruments work extremely well layered together. The Rhodes functions kind of like the glue, whereas the guitar gives more definition to the chords. For the drums, I chopped up a hi-hat loop with the intention of leaving pockets of space so it breathes a little bit more, then matched it up with a vibey boom-bap kick and snare pattern. For the bass, I decided to use a punchier and more defined synth sound. Since the top melody was simple, I played the bass in a way that added another layer of movement and acted sort of like a counter melody. I also sidechained the bass to the kick drum, so that way the attack of the bass didn't clash with the kick, but punches through when the kick is taking a break. The only thing I did arrangement-wise is drop everything out on beat 1 of the second cycle just to break up repetition a little bit. If you're enjoying this breakdown and learning something so far, do me a quick favor and smash that like button and subscribe. Now let's move on to the next section. After finishing up the melody in the previous section, I put in a short guitar solo to replace it to move the story forward. In order to define this section more, I added a lo-fi type synth pad to replace the guitar chords, which helped to thicken up the harmony. I threw in a sample of a rain stick to add a little bit of vibe and to help mark the transition. and then I sprinkled in a shaker to give it some transparent momentum. To transition out of this section, I used a reverse crash but chopped it up to give it a little bit of a different texture. In this section, I knew I wanted to open the song wide open, so I tried experimenting with ways I can make this part contrast with what came before as much as possible. So how did I achieve this contrast? First, I changed the chord progression to A flat major 7 to G flat major 7, then E flat major 7 to D flat major 7. I kept it simple and relatable to the first part of the song, but definitely wanted it to have its own identity. I fingerpicked the new chords to give it a very different texture than what I had played during the melody. I also pitched down the guitar an octave and EQ'd it with a mid-range bell curve to create even more contrast. I used ambient sounds to further set the vibe. I brought back the wind sample and added another sample of raindrops that I chopped up and processed in a way that it added a percussive element to the environment. A bit later in the section, I added a synth pad to beef up the harmony, with the Rhodes part supporting it with a little melody at first, then dropping into a full-on pad later. Halfway through, I brought in a filtered drum part where the kick is left out. I did this because at this point in the arrangement, felt like everything was floating in a beautiful way and I didn't want to anchor it too soon with a prominent kick pattern. I did add a shaker to keep the momentum going, but I chopped it up a bit so it left some space for everything to breathe. I built the section up more by adding a harp melody, some arpeggiated synth ear candy that I processed with delay and reverb, then panned it to give it some more motion, and at the last cycle I added another guitar layer. Again, I used just a simple reverse crash to help move to the next section. After the reverse crash transition, I stripped it down to just the bare melody, pulling the carpet on the arrangement, if you will. After having so much going on in the B section, this type of move really resets the dynamics of the song and refocuses attention back to the main melody. My main focus at this point was to not drop the ball and to exit in a way that was simple and pleasant. The melody moves on normally, then gets stripped down to 2 pads and the glockenspiel melody in order to let the audience down gently. Layering sounds for pads and melodies help add a lot to any arrangement. Personally, it took me a while to get used to this mindset when I first started producing, but once I started looking at my songs as more of an orchestration, it really opened up a lot of options for me to use to fill out different parts of my arrangements. Contrast in parts, sections, and sounds help give songs a more defined shape overall. The bridge on this song is probably one of the most contrasting sections I've ever written, and I think it helped elevate the song as a whole in a way that I couldn't have imagined otherwise. Thanks for joining me for this beat breakdown. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more production breakdowns and tips. See you next time, and be good.